Shall we talk about our foremost
Elon.
oligarch?
Yeah, sure.
Speaking of crumbling empires. So Elon and Trump, you guys know the backstory. They're going at it. Elon, in particular, going very hard in the paint, accused Trump of being a pedo, said that he bought the election for him, said that he should be impeached, said accurately that the tariffs suck, and he projects that there will be a recession in the next half of the year. So, I mean, going about as hard as you possibly can in areas where Trump's ego is the largest and the most fragile. So now, at 3:04 a.m. yesterday, we get this tweet from Mr. Musk. He says, "I regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far." Now, I have to say, Candace Owens actually had a good tweet about this. She was like, so did they go too far because you were correct about him being in the Epstein files and now you feel bad about it? Or did they go too far because you were lying about him being in the Epstein files? Could you be a little more specific about what exactly is going on here? Because I don't know about you, but for me, if someone goes out and accuses me of being a pedo, that's going to be a hard thing to take back.
Yes.
Especially, listen, the Epstein thing it's a real problem for Trump. He was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. He was on that plane, we know in the flight logs, numerous times. There's pictures there's videos, et cetera. And now suddenly his administration is very weird and really dodging and lying and spinning, et cetera, when it comes to actually releasing the Epstein files. So in any case, he has apparently some sort of a relationship mending situation is unfolding where J.D. Vance and Susie Wiles approached Elon in particular, and we're like, all right, let's try to smooth the waters here, calm the waters here. And Elon did, now we have the reporting, also talk to Trump before putting this post out. So that's kind of where things stand at this point.
I really just have no idea. We have some comment here from the press secretary about the Elon rapprochement. Let's take a listen.
About Elon Musk, he issued an apology this morning. Has the president accepted the apology, or does he think it's too little too late?
The president acknowledged the statement that Elon put out this morning, and he is appreciative of it, and we are continuing to focus on the business of the American people.
We are appreciative of it. Some of the background of this is actually kind of interesting as well. So, you know, this whole thing appears to have been brokered, like you said, by JD and by Susie Wiles. Trump receives this phone call. We have the reporting. We can put that on the screen. Late on Monday night, after days of Trump dodging Elon's calls. It comes after he speaks privately with Susie Wiles and with JD Vance about a path to the truce. Wiles told associates, quote, she had come to like working with Musk.
Yeah.
And was one of his regular points of contact. That is bullshit, by the way. Yeah, that's not what I heard.
Definitely
at
a lie.
all. But anyway, and so what we kind of see inside of all of this is I'll say this. Why they want him back on side is interesting to me. Because he's obviously a huge political problem. The money, yeah, it's good. But what? There's a dearth of rich billionaires like wanting to give her, you know, come on, let's not kid ourselves here. The heir of, what's the guy's name? Timothy Mellon?
Yeah.
The heir to the Carnegie Mellon fortune. He wired Trump like $55 million, you know, during the campaign. He actually would have been one of the biggest funders if it weren't for Elon. So I don't think money is the issue. I don't even really know what it is. We had this story about people who are worried about the Elon burn book, like the things that he might know. I think that's very possible, right? So some of the possible inside details about what he knows about the administration. T4, please, guys. Can we put that on the screen? But I'm curious, why do they want him back on side? Like, he's not a political asset. I think we all know that.
No, he is not a political asset, which is part of why I thought it was so weird. People like Rokana and others who were like, let's reach out to Elon. I'm like, how did this go? Like, putting aside the principles, which should be important, how did this go for Republicans? Has this been great for the Trump administration? Right. How did this go with that Wisconsin Supreme Court race? Was Elon a major asset there? Did that really help them, you know, be able to lose by double digits in that race? So, I mean, I can only speculate, right? So from the beginning, it was weird to me how, well, it was weird to me throughout the Trump administration how deferential he was to Elon. That was weird to begin with. Then, when Elon goes nuclear, when Elon goes total scorched earth with you're a pedo and I won you the election and you should be impeached and JD Vance should replace you, when that happened, and Trump responded in this very meek way, like not at all characteristic of the way he usually goes, so hard, and he'll invent stories, and he knows he's got a gift for humiliation, right? He knows what he's doing in that department. He didn't do that. And in fact, J.D. Vance was on with Theo Von while this was all unfolding. They were recording that interview. And according to the reports, at least, Trump counseled J.D. Vance to be diplomatic in that conversation. In fact, before I heard that report and I just listened to J.D. Vance on with Theo Von talking about this, I thought, I don't know if Trump is going to feel like he went strong enough.
I thought the same thing.
For him. I don't know if he did enough here to like really project his loyalty. But apparently he was following the advice and the, counsel of Trump in what he wanted him to do. So, I mean, I can only assume that either he is worried about like whatever Elon knows about the Epstein files, or perhaps he thinks Elon knows something about the election, whether that's true or not, that he doesn't want to come out, or there is some other unknown something or fear of some unknown something that Elon could reveal that would be genuinely damaging and a problem for him. Now, listen, there are things in the public sphere we know are cards that Elon holds. Trump has way more. He's the president of the United States. There's no doubt about that. Elon controls Twitter. Twitter's really important to the right now. That's very significant.
Yeah,
that is like the backbone of Republican propaganda efforts is on Twitter right now. So that is important and consequential. Elon controls Starlink. Starlink is even more important and consequential as communications backbone, which I think is intentional on Elon's part to have that kind of control. It's worth remembering in the context of the Ukraine war. I mean, first of all, Elon saying, okay, you can use our Starlink satellites for your communications, extremely consequential for Ukraine. And then him as an individual being able to say, I don't want you to use it for Crimea, so we're going to take that offline. Whether you think that's the right decision or not, having one person with that kind of control running his own foreign policy shows you how important Starlink truly, truly is. SpaceX. NASA is very dependent on SpaceX at this point. The International Space Station, very dependent on SpaceX at this point. This is I think, colossal indictment of the move that has, occurred over successive administrations towards privatization, not only of NASA, but of all sorts of government, formerly government-held capacity. And especially when you're talking about into the hands of one specific individual. So what was one of the first things that Elon said when Trump is like, I may pull your contracts, Elon's like, okay, fine, we'll decommission the particular spaceship that they use for the International Space Station. So these things are all known, but I still don't think that that is enough to really account for the very meek way that Trump has approached this and his willingness right away to sort of, extend a hand and try to calm the waters here with Elon. So I have to assume, because one last thing here, to get to the burn book piece, it's not that these Republican aides are like, oh, I know he knows this about us, and so I'm concerned. They're like, he was in all of our departments. Like,
right, exactly.
Starlink was put in the White House to suck up all kinds of data. He's got his little minions, his little Doge minions who are loyal to him. About 100 of them is what I saw, spread throughout agencies throughout the government. So their fear is just like, we don't know what he knows or what sort of tea he could spill, or anyone will also just make some shit up too. That's not beyond him either. So it could also be one of those scenarios where Trump's just like, I don't know. He could know some things that would be really damaging, and that puts some fear into him.
That's right. You don't even need a conspiracy theory. It's like somebody who's in the room. This happened so many times in the first Trump administration. Somebody who was in the room would come out of the room, and then they would denounce Trump, and they would tell us about all the things that was going on. That's how the Woodward books happened. That's how all this other stuff happened, right? And so here, I really think that might be one of the more animating ones.
But
the Twitter thing is also important.
In all of those instances, though, it's not like Trump was afraid to go after them.
Sure, yeah, but I mean, I think,
or looking to mend fences.
Well, Twitter, though, is actually the one that you mentioned, which is probably the most important, because Twitter is like the beating heart. See, you said Republican propaganda. I really don't think it's that. It's about elite conversation. Like, that is what Twitter ultimately is the place where narratives are set. Yes,
it's both.
Republican and Democratic, but like, it is the beating heart of politics as we know it. And I think that's because of that that they see the power and they're worried about, let's say, the algorithm of fundraising and so much more. And broadly, I mean, we shouldn't take this for granted either. I mean, they did buy a lot of their own BS. I mean, Elon was like deified into a god ever since he bought Twitter amongst a lot of Republicans. So, you know, you don't necessarily want that person to turn against you. And so for a lot of them, maybe not necessarily the top of the White House, but let's say, you know, Republican congressmen, officials, remember, there's like a Doge caucus, literally, in the House of Representatives. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that's happening inside of all of the party apparatus. I wouldn't be surprised either, you know, the RNC, they're probably deeply integrated with Elon. So he does have leverage, you know, like not, of course, not nearly as much as Donald Trump.
The Epstein thing is real. I mean, this administration is acting so weird about the Epstein
I agree.
files.
I agree.
And Epstein said Trump and him were besties for a decade, right? You had Pam Bondi say that we've got thousands of hours of videos we're trying to go through, and that's why it's taken so long for anything to come out. Then you have Kash Patel go on with Joe Rogan and say there's no videos. These things are not.
No, that is nuts. I agree.
Like, they don't go together.
Yeah.
You had that crazy influencer boondoggle where they all came out with their photo op with their binders of information that was already widely publicly available since 2015, and actually Gawker had released more than was even in those binders. You had Kash Patel and Dan Bongino go on Fox and say, oh, no, we know that he killed himself. Like, we can tell you definitively. Like, just trust us. Don't you think we would tell you the truth? Just trust us. He definitely killed himself. There's nothing to see here. You had Kash Patel tell Joe Rogan that actually the cameras were on in the cell, which that is the opposite of what we've been told this whole entire time. Whenever Trump gets asked about Epstein, he gets really weird. He, you know, we showed you the clip before. He gets asked, what about JFK? He gets asked about something else. He's like, yes, release the files. Yes, release the files. And then when it's Epstein, it's, yeah, well, I don't know, privacy, I'm concerned, maybe a little bit less on that one. And that he always is like that with the Epstein thing. So, I mean, I do not put off the table whatsoever that also could be a core part of why he is so reluctant to burn the bridge and go completely scorched earth with Elon in a way that he has not been reluctant with literally anyone else who has crossed him.
It is weird. There's no question. The Epstein thing is absolutely crazy. As I still think it's the Israel connection. I really do, just especially considering the Israel firsters that are all in the administration. Because if I had to guess, the smoking gun stuff on the Mossad in Israel must be insane on Epstein. Like the control, the money, the control, what they were asking of him, for, you know, what exact purpose he all had. So I think that is still yet the most unexplored. And really the most under-discussed element of all of this. You know, everyone's like, oh, the compromise. I'm like, listen, I knew that was there. I'm like, I want to know at the highest levels of the government.
Well, that's what's
like how
consequential for foreign policy, for understanding the way that, you know, this foreign government has operated within our own country. And yes, I was on with Piers Morgan this week, and we were talking about all of this stuff. And what the Republican, Roger Stone was on there. And
what did Roger say? I'm actually curious. Yeah.
It's not a great format for him.
Yeah, right.
It was not a great. He needs a one-on-one. Like, you know,
He's a talker.
I think older people too, like, I struggle in that kind of panel format. So he honestly didn't have a lot to say. But basically, Piers and the two Republicans on the panel, Clay Travis and Roger Stone on the panel, were like, don't you think if there was something in the Epstein files about Trump that Democrats would have leaked it? And I didn't have a chance to jump in, but my rejoinder would be like, number one, we know they're a Bill Clinton association, so they wouldn't want that piece out. And, you know, unlike you, I'm not a hack, so I'm willing to say, you know, this is a bipartisan situation here that could be very embarrassing. But number two, the Israel piece. Like, yeah, no American administration, which have been extraordinarily pro-Israel and hardcore Zionists, are going to want to reveal his connections to Mossad, and that he was very likely, you know, based on what we know at this point, very likely an intelligence asset for them, and that's what he was up to. So, you know, to me, it's no mystery why this stuff stays under wraps, because it's both the whole intention, the whole project was creating material that was politically damning for both parties to exercise control. And then, you know, the reason for that is also politically damning, and, you know, something that no American administration will want to come out. So
yeah, while I was on paternity leave, I somehow fell down this YouTube rabbit hole at 2 a.m. about spies, and so I started listening. I knew a little bit about the case. The Jonathan Pollard case is insane.
Really?
And it reminds me a lot of the whole Epstein thing. So Pollard is this guy working, I think it was at the NSA, and he's basically like a free-for-all, like he'll spy for anybody because he wants money. And he ends up hooking up with Mossad, and they pay him a lot of money to basically steal NSA or intelligence documents and smuggle them out, and he gets for it. Okay, well, eventually he gets caught and he gets sentenced to prison for, I don't know, 30-some odd years for espionage. In that time, Pollard basically transforms himself into saying that because he was a Zionist Jew, that he was spying for Israel because he believed they were not getting enough intelligence. Benjamin Netanyahu starts visiting Pollard in prison here in Washington. The entire Israeli government granted him citizenship. It became a point of diplomacy for that government to demand his release. Multiple Jewish billionaires in the United States petitioned President Clinton and other presidents since then till his release to be released from prison and be granted clemency because he had spied for an ally. And I was like, this is crazy. This guy is a straight up traitor. Netanyahu visits him in prison. The moment he's off parole, he flies to Israel and he lives there now currently. I was like,
was he greeted by Netanyahu like off the plane?
Yeah, I could not believe the level of influence of their government to have the audacity to basically beg every successive president, attorney general and others, to release him from prison. I mean, look, if a U.S. asset was caught spying for Mossad or for spying for us in Tel Aviv and they put him in jail, the Israelis would be outraged if we were like, hey, you got to release him. Like, he's our guy, he's our citizen. We're all friends here and all.
Right.
I couldn't believe that this was so out all in the open. And what really reminded me of it is that people like me who are saying all these things I am right now in the 90s and the 2000s were branded what? Rabid anti-Semites for bringing all, and I was like, man, this machine.
And it worked for a long time.
It worked so well. And if I know this is bad, and the level of control and all that they have over our politics is just immense. It's horrific. I could never even begin to like overstate what it is. But with the internet, we have a chance to be able to speak out on some of this. And things are, as hard as it is to believe, things are still a lot better.
All right, guys, 2 quick things. Number 1, by popular demand, we are bringing back the monthly subscription. Number 2, you can get a month free, Ryan, by putting in that promo code BPFree at breakingpoints.com.
Yeah, and I think the most important reason to become a premium subscriber is just as an act of support for the show. It helps us do what we're doing. But if you're curious what the benefits are of doing it, take the free month, and you'll see you get the AMAs, you get the second half of the Friday show, you get the full show emailed to you earlier. It makes your life much better. Do it for a month at breakingpoints.com. BPFree is a promo code. And if after a month your life isn't dramatically improved, you can just cancel. If it is, it's just $10 a month.
There you go.